Hey guys, it's Kevin again. This is my review for The Walking Dead, Season 5, Episode 10, Them. And was this not the most depressing episode of The Walking Dead ever? Like, seriously, this episode was extremely depressing, and it was very slow, not too much happened in this episode. A lot happened towards the end of it, but a lot of this episode, there just wasn't a lot happening. I can totally understand if someone did not like this episode because of that. Me personally, though, I absolutely loved this episode. In fact, I think it's one of the best episodes of the season and one of the best episodes of the show in general. And here's why: it was not playing around. It was nitty gritty, just raw emotion and just the struggle the group is going through. That's what this whole episode was. The reason it was so slow is because the group has no idea where they're going. They're all tired. They're run down. That's why this episode was so slow. But I actually really love the direction this show is heading. Let's just get in this episode because, once again, it was another solid episode. And this season is just proving to give out solid episode after solid episode. And I'm loving it. So let's just get to it. So we start out with Maggie, and she is extremely upset about what happened, obviously, because of Beth and everything, and you just feel so bad for her. She's teary-eyed, she's wiping her eyes in the woods, and a walker creeps up from behind. She waits until it's just behind her to stand up, pull it close, stab him in the head, and she doesn't even care anymore. Like, she honestly doesn't even have much emotion. She has so much emotion that no one's really even talking right now. They're all just so run down, no different. They're all just so run down from what's been going on, and you just feel bad for every single one of them. And I think this scene was just so well done because I might as well mention that there's no talking in this scene. It's all just seeing things. It's seeing how everybody's been dealing with this lately, and it's really sad to see, I have to say. Because a hand digs through the dirt collecting worms, and Daryl, remember, they have no food, guys. They don't even have a place to live right now. They're out in the wilderness. They don't know where to go. Rick claims they're heading to Washington, but I don't even know if that's true anymore. And, just because they have no food, Daryl's relying on eating worms. That's how serious this is. And his equipment is scattered around him on the ground. Sasha is exploring a path in the woods. She stops and analyzes the dirt, seemingly looking for water, because they have no water either. And dead frogs are scattered in front of her. She notices and is intrigued. She kicks dirt with her foot, buries one. And Maggie and Daryl approach from the side. She gives them a negative indication with a head nod, and the three leave the woods. So Daryl, Maggie, and Sasha approach the rest of the group. It's been a day and a half. They're 60 miles away from DC. The rest of the group sits in the road at their vehicles, and then it cuts to the opening credits. So I thought that was a very good way to start the episode. It was really intense so far, and it's really getting into just, the situation the group is in, just the difficulties they're dealing with, and it's really hard to watch. There were a lot of points in this episode that were very hard to watch, because we then find out that the group's truck, the truck that, that Tyrese was in and everything, and I myself was wondering, why are they walking so much? Because their truck is out of gas. It's not even working for them anymore. Even their truck is running down. Everything, all kind of hope for the group. They're just losing it slowly, everything. But what I was hoping for this episode to give them is that they need to realize that they need that hope that Tyrese had, because that's one of the reasons Tyrese was my favorite character on this show, because he always had that hope. He never lost it, and I was really worried that the group was just going to lose it completely. There's just points in this episode where you just feel they're going to lose it, and luckily, I'll get to what ends up happening. But basically, Rick is telling them that they'll walk, so they do. And they look very weary down the street, and Rick's carrying Judith, and they ignore an approaching group of walkers. They're just ignoring them because, and I love the line, we're not at our strongest. I love that line that Rick says that, because they're not their strongest. And Rick talks to Daryl about Atlanta. It's been 3 weeks, and Daryl's deflecting and telling Rick that Judith is hungry. And Rick is optimistic for finding food in rain, and Daryl's branching off to find food and attempts to deny Carol's self-invitation to tag along, but she goes anyway. So she shares a music box with Maggie, and Father Gabriel is lagging behind the pack, and he's tugging at his priest uniform, and he's telling the story about shirts the church used to make and how they are intended for atoning for sins. And it's a really interesting scene, and Maggie's telling Gabriel that her father was religious and then shuts down his attempt to get her to open up. And, he really wants to help her out, obviously, because he's a priest. And one of the things you do when you're grieving is you turn to a priest. But in the situation they're in right now, there's really no time for that. And I think this was the episode where Gabriel is slowly starting to realize the real situation the group is in. And I like that Gabriel's realizing that. I've really liked his character. I know a lot of people don't like his character because they think he's slow and they think he's stupid and everything. But for me, he's a very important character because he still has his morals. And that's something that Tyrese and Beth both have. They both have their morals. So he shuts down his attempts to, basically, he tries to comfort her. She's defensive and, I don't know how to pronounce that word. She's telling him he hid when his people needed him, and the group continues down the street in the hot sun, so they're obviously not happy about, Gabriel. Keep in mind, guys, it is extremely hot where they are. It is like, picture like a hot summer's day, and you have to walk. It would be hell, like, seriously. They're not even wearing, like, summer clothing, just, they haven't even changed their clothing for, like, weeks now, so it is awful for them. So, Michonne and Sasha observe the trailing walkers. Sasha wants to kill them, and Michonne tells her it's not worth it. Michonne compares Sasha to her brother, but Sasha insists they are not the same and never were. And I like that she said that, because if you remember, Tyrese told her that they're the same, but they're really not the same, because, I mean, Sasha never really had a say in the group, and we haven't seen, I mean, Sasha does have a say, but Tyrese was definitely more vocal, and Tyrese got his points across, and Sasha never really did that. Sasha's more of the quiet one. Tyrese was more the family one. Tyrese was definitely a family-first kind of guy, as I said. He was a family-first kind of guy, and that's why I really love Tyrese. Sasha, however, is more just, we'll get this done and do what people tell me to. That's what Sasha is. She's never really had an opinion, so I like that Sasha said that. So Carol and Daryl are exploring the woods, and Daryl says it's too dry, nothing is there, and Carol advises them to start back, and Daryl wants to stay alone. Carol starts about Beth saving their lives and gives him Beth's knife, and of course Daryl is still hurting because of Beth. She reminds Daryl that he's not dead. She tells him she knows him, and he has to let himself feel, brushes his hair aside, kisses him on the forehead, and I definitely see a lot of chemistry between these two. A lot of people have said this. I see a lot of chemistry between Daryl and Carol. And definitely not right now because of the situation they're in. They're not going to get together. But in the future, I definitely want them together because I really like them together. So they head back to the group. And Rick and Glenn are observing Woods from a bridge. And the group is spread across the bridge. And Abraham nods for Rick to go forward with an apprenticed plan. So walkers are approaching the group. It backs away, leads them over the end of the bridge with ease. They've gotten pretty good at this. I mean, this is a really awesome scene to see. It shows that even though they're so run down, they still can take out walkers. They still can do that. They're not going to let walkers stop them. Sasha's grabbing a walker, looking at it, and kills it. They abandon their plans, start killing walkers one by one. Michonne's advising Sasha to leave, but she won't, and I like this about Sasha. I like that Sasha's not really listening to people anymore, because, again, she's never really had a say. This is Sasha. Okay, Sasha, we need you to do this. We need you to, that's really all we've seen of Sasha, is that people telling her what to do. She doesn't have much of a say. And I like that now, finally, Sasha is not really taking this anymore. She wants to have a say. She's tired of people just telling her what to do, and she's not going to have that anymore. She's going to have her way, and I love that about Sasha. I love that Sasha just doesn't give a damn, really, about the group and wants to do her own thing. So the group all together again walks more down the road, and Carl's telling Rick to look ahead at some cars, and Daryl goes exploring in the woods again, and Maggie's wiping the window of the car and opens the window, and she searches the inside and only finds papers, and the keys are in the ignition. So she takes the keys, opens the trunk to find a woman tied and bound, and now a walker, and Maggie closes the trunk and walks away bothered. She goes to the trunk and tries to get the keys, but can't, and she draws her gun and aims it at the keyhole. So, so she can get the keys out, which, that's a pretty awesome way to get the keys out. Just shoot the keys out. That sounds kind of awesome. Glenn grabs her, and she explains that there's a walker inside. Glenn tries twisting the keys, gets the trunk open. One of the things I love is that Glenn and Maggie's marriage is not really suffering here. They love each other, and I love that about Glenn and Maggie. They never let anything, they never let anything ruin their marriage, which I love. So he picks up his gun, gathers Maggie, and leaves, and Daryl continues through the woods. He drops to his knees before any medicated deer with its spine showing. He sees a dead walker with its blood splattered against the tree it's resting on, and the sun is continuing to beat down on the entire group. They're now resting on the side of the road, and Daryl's rejoining them. They literally, again, remember guys, they have nowhere to go. They're sleeping on a road right now. That is extremely dangerous, but the condition they're in, you understand why. So Abraham opens up a bottle of liquor and starts to drink it, and Rosita, Eugene, and Tara talk about alcohol making things worse. And it really does. I mean, Abraham has severe alcohol problems, things like that, and it's not good for the condition. I mean, it can make you more emotional, more depressed. One of the things I like is even though the group is back together, it's not a happy reunion. The last time they all were together, it was very happy. They all were happy together, but they just lost 2 people in their group, so it's not really a happy time right now. It's not really a happy time right now. And they're really going through a lot, definitely. And I think they portrayed that very well in this episode. I thought that was really well done. So a pack of dogs come out of the woods and barks at the group who's hesitant to make a move, and you just start to think about yourself in the situation. This was a scene where I was thinking about myself. I was like, what would I do if I saw a pack of dogs? And I'm like, they're going to eat them. They are, because they have no food, and why not? They're going to eat the dogs. I thought that's what they were going to do. I thought they were going to kill the dogs, and then they were going to eat them because they have no other food. Because, I mean, if you were that desperate, you'd want food. So what would you do? You start thinking like an animal. You do. I mean, we are mammals. We want to eat. That's how we're made. So if we aren't going to get food, why not just kill the dogs and eat them? But that's not what they do. And that's exactly what happens. Sasha puts them all down with their silenced rifle. Rick takes a stick, breaks it over his knee, and the group cooks and eats the meat of the dogs, which is what I thought they were going to do. Because again, they have no food, so how else are they going to eat? Just eat the dogs. And it sounds ridiculous, guys. But again, you just have to think of yourself in that situation. I think it was really well done the way they did that in this episode. So Noah's staring at one of their collars. Sasha can tell Noah's bothered. And Noah tells Sasha that he tried to help her brother. And he says he doesn't know if he'll make it. And I like that Noah said that because he knows what happened to Tyrese. And now he's worried about himself. Because Noah feels really bad for not helping Tyrese. He told him he'd come back. And he just didn't get there in time. A lot of people were complaining about Tyrese dying, but let me say this. The only reason he died is because Noah did not get there in time. And that can happen in a lot of situations, definitely. And he's saying he doesn't know if he'll make it because, what happened to Tyrese. And I really felt like Noah was going to die last week. There was a part of me that's like, I feel like they're going to kill Noah, but they didn't. So Sasha tells him he's not going to, and then adds, don't think, just eat. And I definitely see Noah dying. I do. I see him dying by the end of this season. I see him being one of those characters that's around for this. I feel like he's going to end up like Bob. He's going to stick on for this season and the beginning of next season, but by the beginning of next season, he's going to be gone. I know that. I know that's how Noah's going to be. Father Gabriel, this was a big moment for Father Gabriel. He's taking off his white collar, throws in the fire, eats his portion of the dog as Maggie looks on. And I think Gabriel is just starting to realize the situation they're in, and that even though he has his morals, he needs to sort of, dial it down a few notches and sort of just stop with his morals, because they really don't have any morals anymore. So the group's continuing down the hot road once again, and Glenn's offering Maggie water, but she doesn't want it, and Maggie talks about knowing Beth was alive and then finding her dead the same day, and she says seeing her life like that, and I thought this was a very good scene. Seeing her life like that was harder than before, and Glenn does what he can to console her and encourage her to keep fighting. You can definitely see she is definitely hurting because of Beth, but she really doesn't have time to grieve, again, because they just got to keep walking, and she's accepting water, and Abraham offers alcohol to Sasha, who declines, and Sasha says it'll make things worse, to which Abraham responds, telling her that her attitude will make things worse. And in some ways that's true, but at the same time, Abraham really should not be drinking right now, because all drinking does to a person is make them more depressed. Because I know this happens. If you're depressed or you've been through something, you start to drink because you think that it's a good coping mechanism. But it's really not, guys. It can lead to a lot of things. I know that drinking can lead to depression and things like that, and I think that Abraham needs to stop drinking because it's not going to end well. And I like that Sasha tells him that they're not friends. She says that clear to him. She says they are not friends. And it makes sense because they've never had any interaction, really. And I don't think most of the group is friends with Abraham right now. I mean, and it's understandable why they're really not friends with Abraham, why they really want nothing to do with him. I can understand that, and I think that's actually very well done that she just says to him straight out, we're not friends. I like that she said that. So Glenn continues as convincing as he tells Daryl they can make it together and only together, and Daryl ventures off into the woods again, and Daryl sits down a few hundred feet from a cabin in the woods and treats himself to a cigarette, and the exhaustion is on his face. He looks at the cigarette, clearly thinking, pushes the lit end onto his hand, he burns himself, and has no reaction whatsoever. And it's such a hard scene to watch, because, I mean, he has no reaction to a cigarette burning him because of just how tired he is and how much emotion he has. I mean, he lost his best friend. Beth was his best friend. He said this. Beth was his best friend, and he lost her, and it's really taking over him. His emotions taking over. He's breaking into tears, and just, you feel so bad for Daryl. I didn't know if Daryl is just so unstable in this episode, and we're talking about Daryl, the guy that's a badass, the guy that's known for being the badass of The Walking Dead. When people say Daryl, that's what we think of. We think of Daryl as being that badass that just kills walkers one by one, but Daryl is in no condition to do that right now, just because of how broken he is. He's so broken over losing Beth that he really can't do anything anymore, and you just feel so bad for the guy. I have to say, I felt so bad for Daryl in this episode, definitely. I thought it was really sad to see what happened to him. So Daryl heads out the woods, and Rick hands him a note that says, "From a friend," and I'm like, Morgan, that's who sent him. Morgan, because Morgan knows where they are right now. So I was thinking, okay, maybe Morgan sent them, and I was thinking we were going to see that Morgan was going to end up meeting up with them, because that, in my opinion, seems like the only hope they can have right now is knowing that Morgan is there. And I don't know much, again, guys, I don't know much about Morgan. I don't know if he's like if he's like tough or whatever, but Morgan seems like the kind of person that's going to save them right now. So there are water bottles in the middle of the street, and they're analyzing them, and Eugene steps up to test it, and Abraham just knocks it over Eugene's hand. He has no idea what he's doing, and Rick's saying that they can't, and I like that Rick said that they can't do it, because, again, they don't know if these water bottles are contaminated, or if they should drink it, if they're even in good condition. They don't know if these water bottles are good for them to drink right now. And I like that Rick isn't sure if they should do it, and their group is rejoicing, and it starts to rain, and they're catching water in their mouth. It's one of the happier moments of the episodes, and some are happier than others. Daryl, Maggie, and Sasha, and Gabriel's going on. You see Maggie, and you see Tara and Rosita. They're like sitting down, enjoying the rain, and it's really helping a lot of the group. And Gabriel saying, "I'm sorry, my lord." Thunder's ringing out. Judith cries, and Rick is insisting that they keep moving, and it's really showing them that, yeah, they still do have hope, because think about it, they had no water, and that was that was just a great scene. And Daryl's telling Rick that there's a barn. So again, they have nowhere to go, so they finally find this barn. They enter the barn. They're soaking wet and cautiously, but it's a good thing that they're soaking wet, because they didn't have any water before, and finally they actually have some water, so that's good for them. So some are staying outside while Maggie, Carol, Abraham, Daryl, and Rick are checking the inside. Maggie finds a room with a walker inside. She's analyzing the dead woman, crawling before drawing her knife and putting her down, and Carol looks over her shoulder. Maggie says that if the woman had a gun, she could have shot herself, but Carol dismisses that type of talk, saying that people can't give up. So day turns to night. Abraham continues drinking. Rick and company form a fire in the barn as lightning flashes through the room, and Carol is telling Rick that Carl will be okay, and Rick says that he was worried for Carl growing up, but this way may be easier for them to get used to the world. And I like that Rick said that, because really that's what growing up does. I mean, I can say that Rick is definitely true with saying that. There are things that seemed like a big deal to me when I was younger, and now that I'm grown up, they don't seem as big as a deal to me, and I think I really do agree with Rick saying that, definitely. I mean, like, if I have a test or something, it's not really that big of a deal anymore. So, again, with Carl, it's just not as big as a deal for him, because he's growing up and he's understanding that, and I like that Rick said that, because really that is what growing up does to someone. And I thought that was a really well done scene. But Michonne claims this isn't the world, and I like that she said that, because this isn't the world. What the group is missing is hope, and I think they need to find that. Glenn's saying that it might be, and Rick says that this is reality until they see otherwise. It's what they have to live with, and it's true. They have to live with this. And Rick's telling a story, and this was such a good scene. By far, one of the best speeches in Walking Dead history. The line in this episode, just, oh my god, such a good line. Rick's telling a story about asking his grandfather if he ever killed Germans in the war, and his grandfather wouldn't answer that it was grown-up stuff. He says that when he asked if Germans ever tried to kill him, his grandfather got really quiet, and that his grandfather said if he stepped into enemy territory, he was dead. And after a few years of pretending he was dead, he made out alive. And Rick says, what we need to do, and then we get to live. And Rick is confident that no matter what they find DC, they'll be okay. This is how they get by. They have to tell themselves they are the Walking Dead. And I loved that line because, one, he just quoted the show. He quoted the show, and I love that he said, we are the Walking Dead. Because a lot of people have said that the show is not focusing on the zombies, focusing on the humans, because they really are turning into the Walking Dead. They're getting weaker and weaker by the minute, and they need to just accept that, yeah, they're turning into the Walking Dead. Because there are more walkers than there are humans right now. So they have to understand that to the walkers, they are the Walking Dead, and they need to understand that. So I thought that was a very, very good line. I love that. Daryl's dismissing the statement, and Daryl's like, we ain't them. Rick is agreeing. Daryl again tells Rick, we ain't them, and then walks away. And thunder rings out, Daryl's pacing near a chain door shut, and the second he went there, I'm like, please, Daryl, please, don't let anything happen to Daryl. Because, of course, they just lost Beth, then they lost Tyrese. I was thinking someone else was going to get in this episode. So I'm just like, please, don't do something bad to Daryl, please. That would have been terrible if that would happen. He's looking outside to find a horde of walkers approaching. He's pushing the door shut, tightens the chain. Maggie wakes up first, runs over to help him hold it shut. Sasha joins the effort, following her. Rick, Carol, Michonne, and Glenn, the group does their best to hold the door shut, keep the walkers out. Their feet are sliding them on. It's such an intense scene, especially because the episode doesn't have much thrill to it. It's such an intense scene. Even Carl's putting Juice down to help. The music's overplaying is intense and shows what the group is capable as a whole group, and it really shows that the group is still strong, and I like that scene definitely because we need to see that the group was still strong, and that was such a well-done scene, especially because there wasn't really any other intense scenes in the episode. So then in the morning, Maggie opens her eyes and looks at Judith, cuddled by Rick, staring back at her. Daryl sits alone away from the group, and Maggie joins him. She tells him he should sleep, and that's okay to rest. They look at Sasha sleeping and mention Tyrese having been tough. Then Daryl refers to Beth being tough too, even though she didn't know it, which she was. I mean, there are signs of Beth being tough. I mean, her taking down, you know, damn it, now I can't think of her name now. You guys know who I'm talking about. The cop. I can't think of her name now. June, I think her name was. Something like that. But her taking her down, that was a sign of it. I mean, Beth definitely was very tough. So, Dawn, that was her name. Beth taking down Dawn and everything, it definitely showed that Beth was tough. And I like that Daryl said that because really she was tough. And then he hands Maggie the music box, and Maggie walks over to Sasha and wakes her. Sasha's confused when Maggie invites her outside. Maggie and Sasha walk outside the barn to find walkers decimated by the weather, and Sasha realizes they're lucky to be alive with the sunrise in the distance. Maggie and Sasha sit together. Maggie tells Sasha she brought her here for this, and Sasha admits she doesn't think she's going to make it. But Maggie, and I agree with Sasha. I think Sasha's the next to go, I have to say. Noah, as I said, I don't think he's going to make, but I think Sasha's the next to go. And Maggie's reassuring her that they will, and Maggie tells Sasha that Daryl fixed the music box, but it's broken. And then we see the end of the episode, and this was really interesting because this man approaches them, and he's well-dressed, and he's clean, and he introduces himself. His name is Aaron, and he says he's a friend, and he wants to talk to the person in charge, and knows that it's Rick, and he says he has good news, and then the music box starts playing, and that's how the episode ends. So what I'm thinking is that Aaron is the one that sent them the water bottles, but my question is, can we actually trust this guy? I have no idea. Of course, because Terminus, we thought we could trust them, and then we know what happened with Terminus. We know that we can't, we know that we couldn't trust Terminus and everything. So I definitely feel the same thing is going to happen with this guy. I just don't feel we're going to be able to trust him. I don't know. He just seems too trusting to me. In this situation, I really don't know anymore. I mean, they've had so many times where they thought they could trust people, and they completely betrayed them, that I have no idea if we can trust Aaron. Let's talk about the group's hope, the group as a whole. I definitely feel that, yeah, they need to accept that they are the Walking Dead. I agree with Rick saying that, but as we saw in that scene, they can do a lot of stuff together, and they are still strong. I think the group needs to realize that. The group is starting to lose hope, and they need to get some of that back, because they're definitely losing it. And the reason they're losing, of course, is because on Talking Dead, they talked about this, that Tyrese is the moral compass. Now, one of the reasons I know that we can't trust Aaron is because Greg Nicotero on Talking Dead said that it's just going to get worse for the group. It's not going to get better. It's going to get worse, and I think what's going to happen is that the worse it gets, the stronger the group is going to become. Because they're going to realize that even though it's bad right now, there is hope. There is somewhere. There has to be somewhere where there's hope. As I've said, I don't think there's anything I don't think there's such a thing as safety for these guys. I don't think so. I don't think they can find anywhere that's safe, but I do think that they can have hope and they can survive. I do. I do think that Sasha's the next to go. I'm going to say that right now. Or Maggie, I think, is also. There were many times. There were times last season where I thought Maggie was going to die. I just don't think that Maggie is going to initially make it in this. Daryl and Sasha, they are definitely hurting right now, and Maggie, definitely they're hurting. I hope that they get that hope back, because they are definitely the ones that are losing that hope the most out of anyone. I mean, Rick sort of still has it, but a lot of them are losing hope, and if anyone, in particular, it is definitely Maggie, Daryl, and Sasha. Those three are losing it. Gabriel seems like he wants to help them, but they don't really want his help, so I definitely feel like they need to open up to Gabriel, because they can trust him. Even though I'm not sure if they can trust Aaron, we know they can trust Gabriel. We know that Gabriel's a good guy, and even though they don't think they can trust him right now, we know they can trust him. The water bottles. Should they drink those water bottles? I have no idea. What good news does Aaron have for them? I feel like he knows about this cure. I feel like he really is a scientist. Here's what I'm thinking. I am thinking that he really is a scientist, and he actually knows the cure, how this whole Walker disease started, how the whole thing started. I think he knows about that. So, but you really don't know with this guy. I mean, he just seems really intimidating. He doesn't seem like someone they should trust, and I don't really know what it is about him that I don't trust. I just don't trust him overall. I don't really know what it is, guys. But that's basically for my review. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Overall, guys, fantastic episode. Loved it. Again, not a lot happened in this episode, but I love that the less things that don't happen, the more interesting the show is, because this whole episode, every episode, this whole second half of the season has been so different from the rest of the show, and I love that, because, again, the group is losing hope, and they're just losing everything. They've lost their moral compass. They lose everything, and it really showed that perfectly. That's it for my review. Hope you guys enjoyed it. I'll see you guys in my next video, which will be my review for Shameless, so I will see you guys for that. Okay, bye.